We are back at the Genzio Media House, and today I am gathered with Lee from Variant. Hi, Lee. How are you doing
Hey
today?
Leah, I'm good. How are you?
Very good. I've never heard your backstory of how you entered the industry. So
hmm
can you tell us, how was that for you? What got your attention? What year it was?
For sure. So I've been investing in startups for a really long time, like almost 8 years. And I actually got my start doing Web2 investing at Andreessen Horowitz starting in 2016. So I spent the first 4 years of my venture career investing in Web2 consumer startups. I was on the consumer team there. So investing in consumer marketplaces, consumer social, media, entertainment, really every consumer category. And I think that paved the way for me to become interested in crypto, even though I didn't really have the vocabulary or connect the dots yet. But it created this kind of foundational scaffolding in my mind of becoming really aware of all of the different types of stakeholders involved in various consumer networks. And over time, I became really interested in what is the next generation of platform design and network design that can be more empowering to network participants, not just the network creators or founders and builders, but include everyone who's around the table in value creation. And so I really saw crypto through the lens of how do we allow participants to capture more of the value that they create. And I could see this being applied to all sorts of different networks, all sorts of different marketplaces and social products. So that was really the genesis of how I became interested in crypto, was through the lens of how can we include platform participants in the ownership of various networks. And we've written a lot about this theme in our founding thesis around the ownership economy, and have continued to really explore this idea of taking users and transforming them into owners and all of the dimensions that that could entail.
How how does this tie in to your core values? Like it seems like if you started like with consumer outside of crypto and then it evolved into like consumer in crypto, like what part of your life brought your attention and focus into this segment?
For sure. Well, one thing that I should mention is that Variant is a full stack crypto fund. I think we are known for being very consumer forward because a lot of our founding theses and our early investments were at the application layer of crypto. I like to say that we were really out in front of consumer crypto before it became a meme.
Hmm.
The founding thesis was all around how can users and participants of networks become owners, and that's naturally a very consumer-oriented thesis, but we invest across the full crypto stack. And then to your question about how does this align with my values and my background, I mean, I grew up super online. Like I was using the internet basically daily since the internet was around.
Yeah.
And I'm dating myself, but that was around like age 8 or 9. And so I grew up on a lot of Web 1 and Web 2 platforms, used forums, used blogging platforms, blogged about my life. I was a creator before that term even existed. I blogged about my life every single day on LiveJournal throughout high school. And so I've always been really interested in online communities, online creativity, and how people express themselves and use various UGC platforms.
Hmm.
And I think that naturally then gives rise to the question of how are these people who are creating a ton of the value on these platforms able to own the content that they create as well as the value that they create. And I think crypto offers a lot of interesting possibilities in that regard of enabling participants to actually capture more of the value that they create.
As someone that created content throughout the years and has been like a natural content creator, if you allow me, do you see like, I would say, like, do you have like this insight on like how platforms are constantly changing, and does that give you a better judgment on how products could grow? So like the way you judge a project, is it in any way influenced by how you see you could potentially grow, coming from the the content creation and multi-platform experience?
Definitely. A lot of my investing and general interest in technology stem from my own lived experiences as a content creator over the years, both as a blogger, as well as a podcaster, as well as just general user of these platforms. And then I think a lot of my investing interests also come from my years of experience investing and seeing the progression of these Web 2 platforms as well, and seeing how their dynamics shifted over time from being really like generous with their creators to over time extracting from them or changing the rules of the game on the users who are using their platforms. For instance, changing the algorithms or changing their stance towards third-party developers. So I think a lot of that firsthand experience, as well as observations from the world of Web 2, have helped to inform like what are the missing gaps in the internet that crypto can help to fill and solve. And so I've naturally been drawn to a lot of products and networks that I think could be antidotes to a lot of the issues that I've seen in the past. So to give you an example of this, I think like an example project that we're really excited about is Mirror.xyz, which is the crypto native creator suite / publishing platform. And I think historically a lot of blogging platforms have exist in kind of this, make a lot of unilateral decisions that creators sort of have to put up with over time, either taking their audiences and trying to build network effects around the platform, so sending readers to other publications. And I think Mirror has designed itself in a way that is much more creator friendly, that gives them a lot more monetization options rooted in digital ownership than a lot of the Web 2 blogging platforms. And so, anyways, all of that is to say that like a lot of my experiences as a creator, as a Web 2 investor, definitely inform what I do now.
Yeah. Other than Mirror, like what are some other platforms that you'd recommend people that are like on the content creator realm in Web 2 that should start like playing around, like if they want to start using these new tools? Because I think like content creators really like experimenting with new platforms, and anything in Web 3, like if it involves like connecting your wallet and doing things as such, it can push people back sometimes because they don't know, because they don't understand, they don't know
Yeah.
what they're actually doing. So what are some of the platforms that are maybe like more friendly for these people to start playing with?
Yeah, I think it depends on the vertical of content that you're creating, but some of our portfolio companies that I'm a huge fan of include Sound.xyz for music creators. You can monetize through selling song NFTs rather than through streaming, which requires a huge audience to be able to viably
I know.
monetize. So that one's really cool. Azora as well has been really innovative in terms of new economic incentives and rewards that flow back to the creators or flow back to the first minter. I think they've also built, their own L2 to make it much cheaper to mint NFTs. And a lot of creators are earning quite a lot of money even through free mints because they share back protocol rewards with creators. And so the name of the game shifts from trying to price your NFT as high as possible and getting your super fan to buy it, to then using it really as top of funnel kind of distribution and being able to monetize even a free creation, which is really interesting. I love Foundation. I think it's one of the most well-designed products that exist in crypto. I've heard it described as when an NFT is listed on Foundation, it actually makes the buyer want to pay more for it because the experience is just so buttery smooth and luxurious.
It is
that
luxurious,
it kind of compels you to bid more, to pay more. Yeah, so those are some of the ones that I really like.
There's the argument in Web 2 is often like, oh, this whatever thing already exists, and why do we need to do it in crypto when the company could just essentially adopt crypto? So there's the obviously like that would have to imply that big companies would actually adopt crypto, which maybe
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't. Which of the pathways do you think is stronger? Like, should, in an ideal world, should like the web 2 companies adopt crypto and have like crypto incorporated, whether like it's payments or the social layer, or do you think it's better to just build new tools and allow people to make the choice?
Mm-hmm. This is the perennial question that I get asked about how crypto is going to go mainstream in the future. How is it going to touch a billion users? Is it through being kind of invisibly interwoven with the products that we already use? For instance, the Web2 platforms. Is it going to be the case that PayPal just has settlement rails on crypto and we don't even really recognize that we're using crypto under the hood? Or is it going to be something that's much more visible to users and much more targeted towards like maybe crypto natives at the beginning who realize that they're setting up a wallet, that they have custody of their assets? And my response is that it's all going to happen, like across the board. I think the Web2 companies are going to build crypto features and functionalities that enable users to seamlessly use crypto, even if users aren't even aware of it. But I think they're going to move quite a bit slower than a lot of the innovation that is crypto native. And then in tandem with that, what's going to happen is you have a wave of crypto native companies and startups that pioneer new product experiences that are only possible with crypto. And I think that is going to be, those experiences are going to be so novel that they will compel a new generation of consumers to seek them out in and of themselves. So, as an example of this, what could possibly be unlocked only through crypto that's just not even possible if a Web2 company wanted to do it? A recent example that comes to mind is Crypto the Game, the online kind of multiplayer reality show game experience that was built on crypto, where 400 participants were competing for this prize pool and doing lots of different challenges and games together. And ultimately, the winner earned, won something like, I think, $80,000 or $100,000 in ETH that was pulled together by this group of 400 contestants. I think that kind of experience could only be possible with crypto, where so many people all around the world want to participate. They're able to pull together this huge prize pool super seamlessly and quickly. They're able to compete from anywhere without going through like so many different steps in order to receive payments or to remit like the entry fee. And then down the line, you could anticipate that this becomes even more crypto enabled, or there's other functionalities inside of the game that are only possible with crypto. For instance, you could maybe like make your spot in the game tradable, such that if you're really excellent at some game but not great at the other, that person could buy the contestant slot from you. And so there could be all these really interesting and novel mechanisms that get unlocked through crypto that just wouldn't be possible in like a IRL or Web2 reality TV show game. So I think that's like the branch of experiences that I'm really passionate about, because it has to be crypto native from day one. It has to be interwoven with just the fundamental architecture and design of the product that you're building. And I think those experiences are going to be much more compelling to end consumers because they just can't be found anywhere else.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Do you think like the you just touched the crypto the game, and there's obviously like Unlonely where both of us participated. Quite an interesting experience. I mean, as someone that is chronically online as well, I love experimenting with different things. Do you think that this I'm gonna call it a wave, but you'd be better to judge this wave of like having sort of like shows where like the users compete for some sort of thing. Do you think this would become a trend this year in any way, or what do you think will be the trend this year?
It's really interesting that you bucket Crypto the Game and Unlonely in the same category of kind of yeah, like game or competition, in a sense. I had sort of mentally bucketed them in separate categories, where to me, Unlonely feels much more like a prediction market that's layered on top of a live stream, but users are really betting on what they think the outcome is going to be. Whereas something like Crypto the Game, I really think of it as using crypto not to predict the outcome of something or to win in that regard, but really as a way to, as a better payments mechanism to facilitate like the prize pool creation as well as the prize pool distribution. But I think, yeah, it's interesting that like there's lots of different angles to it. I think Unlonely taps into a behavior that is taking off, which is people want to bet on the outcome of things. Like that category of prediction markets is one that we're really excited by. Like we've been watching Poly Market for a really long time, and it finally feels like we're reaching a cultural inflection point or a cultural why now around people becoming familiar enough with this new behavior of wanting to bet on the outcome of something. And I think the future of prediction markets might look less like a website that you go to with a bunch of markets and you like bet on the markets that you want to, and much more distributed. For instance, like Unlonely, where there's a live stream product and there's a prediction market on top of each of the streams, because that's the natural fit for where the prediction market goes. It's related to the content, so it should sit on top of the content. And going beyond that, I could see prediction markets layered on top of like any UGC platform where people are creating content and want to vote on the outcome of that content, or onto news sites where content is being published and people take that information and they want to bet on the outcome that they believe is going to happen related to the news or something like that. So I think that is for sure going to be a trend that happens.
So projects like Crypto the Game, if there was another aspect to it that's more like streaming or people watching, then it would
Yes.
naturally enable that dynamic of betting.
Yeah, I think so. I think that could be something that they layer in that would make it much more engaging for the audience to participate, because round one or season one was really just about the 400 participants and their involvement in the game. But as a outside viewer who wasn't one of the contestants, there wasn't really much for you to do. So I could see them layering on, this is just a product idea for them, I could see them layering on a prediction market so that audiences can participate and maybe control different dimensions of the show.
Do you think people that are building apps on the entertainment side could take ideas from both of the projects and sort of like take their products to the next level? Like, how do you see this influencing the current entertainment apps, and maybe not even just entertainment?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I think that there's just so much to learn from the previous history and attempts that exist outside of crypto. Just blanket, like full stop. Like I believe that to be the case. And I think that's true whether you look at entertainment as a vertical or social as a category or any other product that people are trying to build in crypto. I think there's just a long lineage and history of comps that you can learn from and pull insights from that have come before that were non-crypto. And I think there needs to be more of that cross-pollination that happens. So I actually created a channel in Warpcast called Web2, Web3 that aims to like pull in insights and best practices from Web2 product development and cross-pollinate it with people who are building in Web3.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, for sure. And so anyways, that's been really vibrant. But to answer your question about like learning from like other entertainment experiences, for sure. I was talking to the founder of Crypto the Game, Dylan, the other day about this, and he actually came from the traditional entertainment world. He used to be at NBC and then worked at HQ Trivia, like producing the HQ Trivia show, which I'm sure people remember. It was like a daily kind of social game, trivia game that was a phenomenon a few years ago on mobile. And a lot of his learnings from that experience were translated into season 1 of Crypto the Game. And we were talking about how there's so many different entertainment experiences that are all around us, ranging from reality television to game shows, to even like entertainment apps like TikTok that could be enhanced with crypto mechanics, whether that's to make it more participatory on the audience side, or whether that's to do something rather prosaic, like making the prizes more easily transferable to the players, or whether that's like introducing completely new mechanisms inside of the core gameplay that just wouldn't be possible without crypto, like what I mentioned about trading your slots in a game show. So, anyways, I really think that there's just a ton of learnings out there for founders to harvest and to build into their crypto products.
A lot of people that will be watching this will have in their minds like, what are you looking for when you look at a startup? Or are you looking for like what is next coming up? Like what should they focus their energy on? Like a lot of people here at Denver will start building stuff from the ground for the first time. What's your advice to anyone entering the space fully ready to start building, and maybe touch a little bit on like what you look for?
Yeah, that's a really big question. In terms of what we look for, because we're focused on early stage investing, and when I say early stage investing, I mean oftentimes we're the first check in to a new company. And so at that really early stage, for us, what we're really looking to back are just incredible founders who are really mission driven and who are building something that they're really passionate about. We say that we are looking to back founders who are doing their life's work. So we really index heavily off of the team, and we like to build those relationships early. I joke that we don't only back companies at the 0 to 1 stage, we're backing them at the -1 to 0 stage. So oftentimes we find these founders, even when they're still employed at their last roles, or they're not entirely sure what they're going to be building yet, but they have a twinkling of an idea, that's the stage where we really want to talk to you and build that relationship early. And I think it can be advantageous for founders to talk to investors at that early stage, because we have such a high level kind of overview of the whole industry and can feed you insights about what we're seeing, or where we see a lot of consumer activity happening in crypto, or what are the trends that we're excited by, and can help you gut check a lot of the ideas that you're coming up with, or suggest like, past companies that have tried this before and what were the learnings. So I encourage folks to talk to us early if you're thinking about starting a company in crypto, even if you don't know exactly what it is yet. And then I think the other part of your question was around just advice to founders more broadly who are starting to build something. I mean, there's a lot of advice.
I mean,
out there.
focusing it more, just to help here. Someone is wanting to build something at the consumer level, which is
Yeah.
your area of focus, and if they are really passionate about this place, the space, and they have, let's assume they have like the right skills, if you could like bring something to life, like obviously not for you to give them the idea, but like where should they look to find a good idea, like how should they approach the space?
My observation is that a lot of the best consumer projects and consumer founders are really building something to solve their own problems. So they experience something in the world, whether that was as a content creator themselves or as a user of consumer products themselves, and they felt like it could be dramatically improved in some way. I think that's the case for a lot of the best consumer product builders out there, whether that's in crypto or outside of crypto. So I would just be really alert to what are your own frustrations? What are products that you use that you think could be made so much better through crypto? And just build for yourself really as that initial user. And then I can share like some broad categories and trends that we're excited by in case it helps to like get anyone's juices flowing. As I mentioned, we're really interested in prediction markets, things that enable users to express knowledge that they have, or to bet on an area where they feel like they have an edge in terms of information or knowledge, and to be able to financially benefit from that. Especially prediction markets that don't look like trading sites but are more distributed on the front end, and maybe in the context of where users are already spending their time. We're spending a lot of time in the Farcaster ecosystem too. Have been trying out a lot of frames, also creating our own frames. Like, I'm blogging my day today as a frame. And so we'd love to meet anyone who's building in the Farcaster ecosystem, people who are working on new clients, perhaps new frames, new new marketplaces that are headless, that are distributed on a social media client like Farcaster. Would be really interesting to us. We call that a headless marketplace. Okay. So there's like global liquidity at the smart contract level, but the distribution or the front end of the marketplace actually looks quite distributed and decentralized. So Bountycaster is an example of this, of a headless marketplace. We're also just really interested in social, and we have been interested in social for a really, really long time. So any sort of new social experience that enables users to connect with each other in different ways, to express themselves more creatively, that's very much up our alley. So those are some ideas.
That's really good ideas. I would feel really excited to use any of the ones you mentioned. I want to wrap this up with a question that maybe you've been asked before. Have you ever thought of creating something of your own?
Like a company?
Yeah.
For sure. I've actually tried it before. Many times, actually.
Oh, really?
My first ever business that I started was when I was about 9 years old. I started a company that made homemade stationery for people to write letters and send letters, handwritten letters.
That's cute.
This is because I grew up reading Jane Austen and a lot of older English literature where people wrote letters to each other. And so I thought adults just need better stationery and more customizable envelopes. Turns out this is, the market size is not growing here. So that was not a great business, but that was my first ever business that I started. And then more recently, I would say a lot of my entrepreneurial energy has been channeled towards being a content creator myself and monetizing that in different ways. So I had a podcast, which I'm kind of taking a break from, but had a podcast that I actively did for a couple of years called Means of Creation, covering the creator economy. I've monetized my newsletter in different ways in the past. It's leesnewsletter.com. And then I've also built side projects on the internet too. So I built Side Hustle Stack, which is basically a directory and resource for people to do any sort of gig or online based independent work. So that's sidehustlestack.co. I feel like I've built a lot of other things before. I used to be really passionate. I still am passionate about the beauty industry. Mm-hmm. And so my friend and I started an AI company a few years ago to do better personalized beauty e-commerce shopping experiences with color matching, foundation matching, etc. But we realized very quickly that selling that B2B to beauty companies was going to be a huge slog because there's about 2 conglomerates that own everything, mm-hmm. and they don't move super quickly. But anyways, yeah, I've built a lot of things in the past, and I still continue to build little projects here and there.
Yeah. It's in some way it reflects the things you're passionate about. Personally, I have to touch here your passion for hats. Would that ever turn into you could create something around this? Just an idea for your next side
oh my
gig.
Gosh, yeah, I love hats so much. I have an extensive hat collection at home. The joke is yeah, I'm always in a hat. I haven't really thought about how to channel this into an entrepreneurial venture. People have joked that they want to make a Lee with hat meme coin, or meme that pictures of me in hats. I was actually thinking about just like releasing NFTs of me wearing hats, because there are a lot of pictures of me in hats. But haven't acted on it yet. Just it's on the
Your
to-do
own hat
list.
collection.
Yeah, maybe my own hat
Yeah.
collection. Although I feel like I'm a better wearer of hats than maybe a designer of
A
hats.
designer. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
And
But if anyone has ideas about what I should do about this passion for hats, I'm all ears.
they will definitely pitch you some idea.
Yes.
And on the tech side, like, have you ever thought like, oh, it would be so cool if this thing existed? Maybe you didn't feel compelled to build it yourself, but do you see a clear gap?
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of startup ideas that I have that I'm happy to just share out there into the ether if anyone's thinking in this direction. So in addition to like all of the broader categories that I laid out earlier for people to think about when it comes to innovating in, there are a couple of like more specific startup ideas that I've had for years, literally years, that I would love to see exist in the world. So high level framing for these ideas is, I think one superpower of crypto is around kind of helping to get a new network off the ground before there's really core utility to the network. So using tokens as this bootstrapping mechanism to get a new network off the ground before there are really strong inherent network effects is something that we've seen crypto be really good at, whether that's like, for a DPIN network like Helium, or even for like an L1 ecosystem like Ethereum. The existence of the token just helps to bootstrap a lot of interest from users and participants. And I think that this could be applied to like a lot more types of networks and marketplaces than what we're currently seeing getting innovated on. So one idea that I've had for a while that someone should build, and please tell me if you're building this, is to create a local social network by leveraging token incentives to get the network to this sufficient level of density where then the network would have a lot of core value. So right now, all of the social networks that we have in the world, they're kind of like interest based, or they're friend based, but there's no social network out there that can tell me like what is happening around me in a 5 mile radius. Like nothing like that exists. Nextdoor is maybe the closest attempt to this, but it's not real time. It's not like what is happening in this instant. And I think the reason why this problem has been so hard to address is not because people haven't tried, but just because it requires such a high density of users for this kind of network to be able to be valuable to people. Like you really need such a dense hyper local network for this product to have utility. And that's where crypto comes in. You could actually bootstrap the network and bootstrap that density of users before maybe the core product has a ton of content on it. So that's one idea. Another idea is like dating is a category vertical where it's been really difficult for startups to get off the ground because the user acquisition costs are so high. And again, you need so many users for the dating application to be valuable to people. And so could you bootstrap a new dating network by using token incentives? I think the answer is yes. And then kind of up leveling this whole kind of like list of startup ideas, I think the theme is there are just generally a lot of types of networks that would be really capital intensive or really difficult to start using a Web 2 tool set. Like they're really expensive to acquire users for, or they need such a high number of users in order for the network to be useful. And I think in crypto, we have this new tool in the toolkit, which is tokens, that could help these networks to exist and get off the ground, whereas it would have just been really difficult to do that in Web 2.
I could talk with you for hours on this. Where can people follow your ideas? Like you share so many amazing ideas. I followed you on Twitter, and I've read like so much like good
Thank
content
you.
coming from you. Let
Yeah.
people know where they can follow you. and
For
read.
sure. I write long form posts on my newsletter, leesnewsletter.com. I also have been spending a lot of time on Farcaster. My handle is just Lee, FID30. And then on Twitter, obviously, as well, I'm Elgin18 on Twitter. I think those are the major channels. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for doing this interview.
Thank
I bet
you.
everyone learned so much from you today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.